Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. You are in the right place. This is going to be the first installment of the workshop, part of the layer hack here at Encode Club. Today, we have a great workshop with Metis. So we're kind of going to go over building on Metis and kind of going over the bounties in more detail. Today, we have Pavel, the co-founder and CEO of the DAC Portal today. It's going to be pretty technical, so brace yourselves. All this will be recorded with the resources and posted on YouTube and kind of Medium later, so you can catch back up with everything. So without further ado, we'll pass it back to Pavel for today's kind of workshop. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. So welcome everyone to Building on Metis and Bounty Briefing. Today I'll go over just what Metis is in general, and then a little bit more about the bounties, as well as dive into some of the how to get started, building, where you can find certain resources. If you need additional help, I'll also link the Discords and the Telegrams so that you can reach out over there. All right, let's get started. So just first things first, there's going to be a lot of QR codes. So if you have your phone ready to go, or if you're on your phone, it might be a bit difficult, but definitely we'll share this presentation and slides later on so that maybe, you can scan around. But here's a couple of our socials to join. We do have an active Discord, active Telegram for any questions. So if you do run into any roadblocks, our devs are always there, always active. Even if you have a general question not related to like Metis specifically, maybe it's just smart contract development, always good to just pop in and say ask a few things, say hi and whatnot. So what is Metis? We're accelerating the transition of people for blockchain for an open and fair decentralized business on Web3, and we're making blockchain accessible to everyone, empowering both personal and professional lives. So Metis is like a big I guess it's more than just a layer 2. We're expanding into other different types of structures, including the DAC Portal, which I'm a co-founder of. And but at its core infrastructure, Metis Layer 2 is the things that applications like smart contracts can be built on top of. So some of the use cases for Metis Layer 2 is some DAO, DeFi, dApps, NFTs, launchpads, etc. And a lot of the benefits to Metis Layer 2 is that we have we're the lowest costing gas fee, currently lowest costing Layer 2 in the ecosystem. We have decentralization on the roadmap in terms of sequencers, in terms of fraud proofs. We have like additional ZK solutions that we're working on as well. So definitely forward thinking in the idea that where ZK is the future, we're also looking forward to there. And focus on the low cost and high accessibility. We also have a community ecosystem governance program. So who knows, when you deploy your application, you have like cool idea. We have tools and resources to support you in terms of our community governance and social channels. And it's very simple. You go through proposal, then you go to a live stream demonstrating your product, then it goes through a vote, then you have marketing and promotion support, and then you're connected with projects in the Metis ecosystem as well. So sort of like a lot of it is just helping out projects, from hackathons or different areas, just get bootstrapped into the system, so you're not left, alone and going like, where do I go next? So let's talk about the bounty. The task is for Metis Layer 2. So there's two types of bounties. First is the Metis Layer 2 bounty, which is deploy an application to the Metis Layer 2 that bridges the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. So it's EVM compatible dApp, DeFi, NFT, or DAO, tools, platforms, and infrastructure to Metis Layer 2. We've recently actually converted to the Go Early testnet. We've deprecated our Rinkeby, but I'll go over that. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. It's just, an RPC change. But so just to go over like some of the rules. So, this actually should be updated. It should be Go Early. We've deprecated our Stardust, so don't deploy on Stardust. That it won't be live. But again, we're fully EVM equivalent. So even if you did deploy it on Stardust, you can take the gas and redeploy it on Go Early as well. So legal age majority, video demo of the live application, open source code, and you join the Metis socials. Very, very important just to keep connected and updated. We'll post any updates as well in there about the hackathon. So please consider joining. And some of the judging criteria that we're looking for. So again, a lot of it is very abstract, like build a generic EVM application that sort of bridges the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. You can't really get more generic than that. But a lot of it is we want to see your creativity. We want to see like what your unique value proposition is, what some of the unique features that you've provided, maybe some usability things, some problems that you see currently within the ecosystem. We also want to see like how you can demonstrate that you can, demonstrate that your abilities to program code. So it's kind of like whatever that you've learned so far through Encode, you get to really enact and then showcase your abilities. So this is our documentation page, docs.metis.io/dev. If you just go to docs.metis.io, you get like this whole meta page where there's like meta documentation, but dev is where you want to go for things like connection details, getting test tokens, verifying smart contracts. But of course, let's get right into the demo. So this is the page for the documentation. I will share these slides later on so that you can like follow along. If if you're interested in clicking around, I do have a lot of links within the presentation. But we have in this case our Metis demo, and just so that you're aware, there's a couple of branches here that are relevant. Gnosis is still in progress. Polis MetaMask is also in progress, but hopefully it will be finished like later on. But what you really want to focus on is the master branch, which so don't worry too much about those. Other ones you can just so that you can see how this application works and how you can get bootstrapped just from like an initial standpoint. So and demonstrating like like the network itself. Let's just take an application that I created. We're going to deploy it now in terms of so in this application we have what's it called? Yeah, I trust myself. So we have a few folders here. You don't have to use this type of starter project. This is just something to demonstrate the application. Maybe you can use it as a starter if you want, but if you have any other idea, or you can use any other type of more generic starter. But this is just to demonstrate like a simple NFT sort of thing, very, very, very simple, easy. In terms of the actual usability of it, let me actually just demonstrate the functionality for this application. So you have different types of folders. You have the components folder, contracts, pages. So this is a Next.js type of application. I'm assuming you're all familiar with React. Next.js is very, very important as well within the ecosystem. So this application, let me just demonstrate it real quick, just so that you get an overview and it's not just looking at code. For the most part, it's basically just here is just completely blank, but right now we want to add in we want to connect our wallet. We want to add in the Metis Go Early testnet, switch the network, and we should have access to Metis MET. This is a contract that was previously deployed. Basically have the ability to view NFTs. You see the picture that's associated with it. And if you're the owner of the NFT, you can send it. So if I create one real quick, I would be able to, I don't know, let's let's do a picture of you know, a cat. And this is a cat. And we do cat. Oh no, that's catalog. And that's a cat. Why not? So again, on the Metis go early testnet, we confirm it, we submit it, we wait for the transaction to execute. Right now, it's like a new deployment, so a lot of the resources. So typically on the Stardust, it was like boom, instantaneous in terms of the go early. It's more of a transitional phase since Rinkeby was deprecated. We had to make this a bit of a change. So transactions confirmed. We're able to see, boom, cat is over here, that I am the owner. If I view it, I'm able to see that this is a cat. I'm then able to send an NFT to a different type of address. And so, you know, I can demonstrate that just by going and I don't know, let's go different type of account. Anyways, takes a bit too long, but you get the gist. It's a lot of just this starter template for how this looks like. A lot of just the deployment is fairly simple. So if we close the application and we go to the contracts folder, so we see that we have contracts, deploy, deployments, and it's a hard hat config file. If we take a look at hard hat, we're able to see, let's see if we can do this. We see we have the Metis Go Early Gateway Metis DevOps link. To find this type of information, to find the RPCs, all you have to do is you go into the docs.metis.io, Metis connection details, and then you're able to see Andromeda, which is the main net. And we also have Go Early. And then, so chain ID, the RPC endpoint, and you know, the block explorer as well. Block explorer is important because then you can actually see your transaction. And so it's right here. We also saw our transaction over here, our MET token present as well. So in terms of this deployment, if we actually, you know, we go in and let's say we delete our deployment and we recreate it, actually, we have a .env here. So this .env, you include your private key in here. So if we actually just remove this and we switch it to .env without the example, this becomes active. We can go into private key and you know, let's try out with Brave. If we go into Ethereum account 2, you see we have a bunch of testnet Metis. So we can go in and go into settings, wallets, accounts, Ethereum account. Here, this is Brave. So if you're on MetaMask, it might look a bit different, but essentially it's the similar structure as and then you get your private key, and then you paste in your private key over here, save it. So then you have a hard hat config. You're able to now deploy it from Metis using the DevOps link. If you go into here, into the console, you can just type npx hard hat deploy -- network Metis. And if we press enter, it should compile, deploy. It takes a little bit of time just to actually like execute. But once it's executed, you should have another recreation of it. And then what we can do, so we had it recently deployed, we can actually check the transaction hash on the network. Boom. So we have this as our transaction hash. That's a contract deployment. Here's our NFT contract, and it's the MET. And then if we go CD a directory back, because then we go into this package.json. And then if we run the dev script, yarn run dev, just to start the server, everything should be automatically connected within it. So then if you go back to the actual application, if we run localhost, you're able to see Metis MET without any NFTs associated with it. This is a brand new contract. Everything's brand new. We can then create, I don't know, a dog. This is a dog. And then we do dog. And why not? So then click confirm. You have to wait for a bit, hopefully not too long. And then it should execute right now. Okay. And then, so we have the transaction successful, and we should see that dog is present. And then we can see, we can view it. And then we see that this is in fact a dog. And I am the owner. And if I go to the contract, I can see that there was indeed a call, a creation, an NFT creation, token ID 0, and then we can see, this is a dog, some mint and whatnot. So very simple, very, very simple application. But as you can see, it's EVM equivalent. You can use Solidity, you can use Hardhat, you can use all the tools to deploy these types of applications. All right, so that's just a brief walkthrough for just a simple DApp. If you want, it's there. You can fork it, or you can create an entirely new application. But again, the task is to deploy an application that bridges the gap between Web 2 and Web 3. So maybe my test application, bridges the gap in some way of saying like, hey, I get to issue different types of cards to people, and then these cards can be like transferred. I don't know. You can think of more creative idea than whatever that I've implemented. After the hackathon, so of course we want to retain a lot of connections that you create. Obviously, projects that might not win, we still want to keep in touch. I think that everyone here has a very specific skill set. Smart contract developers are very much in need, and anyone technical as well. So we do have a $100 million ecosystem fund that's supported by our investors that invested into Metis. And then we have grants as well. We also have a builder mining program. So if you deploy your application on Metis, for after you register your DApp, just to make sure that it's like it's you that's getting the money and not someone else. Once you register your DApp, you would get transaction fees from the execution of it. So it's kind of like you deploy your application, the more transactions it receives, then the more revenue that you generate. And so that's part of like the unique value proposition for deploying on Metis as well. We have grants, we have the ecosystem program. So if you're interested, check that out. Here's builder mining information, and then subscribe. If you have any questions over here, and another subscribe slide, why not? And then another question slide. I think that was just accidentally duplicated. Okay, cool. Now let's move on to the next part of the bounty. So that's one part of the bounty that's worth 1,500. So for the best deployment. Now we're going into the DAC portal. And I don't know if people were here for my first presentation, I went over just a brief introduction for the problems for DAOs currently. It's difficult to coordinate. DAOs have a lack of trust. DAOs are designed to be static and unchanging, and there's no clear path to a blockchain-enabled business. We plan on addressing all of these needs and concerns, and we're using Gnosis Safe at its core. So if you want, you can review this, take a read at it later. The true efficiency of DAOs hinder the potential of Web3 by providing social mobility and experimental ethos that doesn't cut it for real business. And DACs apply an approach to efficient decentralization through no-code platform to manage operations of a Web3 integrated company. So essentially, a DAC is more meant for a business focused rather than just you're collectively starting up under a specific cause. This one would be more so you're collectively starting out to essentially be more so of having a specific directed vision with a set owner or group of owners. So what is a DAC specifically? Blockchain-enabled entity, which has a defined owner or group of owners, which are responsible for the operation of the entity. So just a brief description of just what is a DAC. It's a lot of abstract things, but to put it down, it's more so of a way that you can bring internet-based businesses, making it very easy to collaborate anywhere in the world. So we do have a forum to learn more from. We're updating a bit of the blog posts there, but we want to provide more research-based articles from thought leaders as well. Okay, cool. So we have a let's take a look at some documentation. Oh boy. Let's not all jump out of our seats. Okay, so we have Gnosis Safe. So Gnosis Safe we're using at a core for the DACs itself. So Gnosis Safe is a tool that's used as a multi-sig for different types of operations. Inside of Gnosis Safe, you have what is known as Safe Apps or the Safe Apps SDK. In these Safe Apps, it's essentially a iframe. So you have like a interface where you're able to basically make different types of transactions directly within an application with Gnosis Safe as like a wrapper. So imagine how MetaMask or Brave injects the wallet directly within the application, and then you're able to make those transactions. So the Safe app, Gnosis Safe, is like acting as an additional wrapper in that application. So if I give a demonstration of going to gnosissafe.io, and then I go open app, hopefully this loads. Because before, yeah, I think there's a bug on Brave, or there's a bug somewhere where it just doesn't load. But so if there's anyone from Gnosis Safe here, let's see. I think I have to provide a different type of load an existing safe. So I don't want to create a new safe. So anyways, it works on Chrome. It doesn't work on Brave. They need to fix it. But to demonstrate it, it's basically like a I can actually demonstrate it within a different application here. But just trust me that things like Compound, Aave, there's a like AutoCo, like there's different types of transaction batching utilities. So you can mold a lot of functionality directly using that Gnosis Safe SDK. So let's get started. What's the first thing that you need to do as a developer? And I should have actually went over this first, is to get test tokens. So a lot of the test tokens that you'll receive will be from this Gorley faucet. All you have to do is just input an address. You just go to your wallet, and then take your address, input it, drip. Oh, well, I guess every 24 hours. Let me actually switch my VPN. Okay, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Switch my VPN. Okay, never mind. I guess it's based on maybe like browser things. Trying to get around our own developers. Yeah. So anyways, you can just request it from this link. You should get 5 Metis, which should be more than enough for your development efforts. So then if we go into the Safe Starter application. So I did not create this. This was created by someone else. It was directly by the Gnosis Safe team, but utilizing it just for demo purposes, just so that you can get started utilizing this. So if we go back into our, so if you go back into our fresh directory and you clone this project, so we go into Safe Starter. So you have this very bare bones application. It doesn't do much. I hope to demonstrate a wider variety of functionality in the Metis demo one. So this application, so this Metis demo application. So as part of the branch, but the Safe Starter should do for now. So inside of Safe Starter, you have a couple of things. What we need to do is npm install. I should probably change this to yarn, but if you're familiar with npm, this can also work. So then everything's installing, hopefully internet. Okay, cool. And then npm start. So this application starts. Yes. So there is another application that's running here. I had a command. If you do encounter something like this, let's ls of -i. And so if there is no process right here, we copy it, we do kill -9 for that, and then we can npm start, and that should work. Okay. So that's if you have like I think something was running here. Yeah, see the node process was running in this other application. So we're running a node process over here on the same port. So if we take a look at this, it says waiting for safe. So in this case, this interface cannot operate without Gnosis Safe or Gnosis Safe wrapper. So typically you would go into dev.gnosissafe.io, but again, they're doing some upgrades and maintenance. This was like, I'm pulling my hair out like yesterday. So thankfully they've haven't told anyone that there is actually a a Git repo here that I've linked in here. So once we have everything, we can go into the Safe Apps Dev UI, which is a link inside the Canva. And so you can just take the code, copy it, go back, create a new tab in the exact same place. So instead of Safe Starter, it'd be another application that gets clone in the Safe Devs UI, and then so we go Safe Apps Dev UI, and then we do yarn. We install the packages. It'd be much more simpler if I just had access to this what was it, dev.gnosissafe.io, but they just completely removed it. I don't know why. But this is the main website you would access it, but they just completely disabled it. I don't know why. They didn't say, like, there's nothing, no updates or whatnot. But thankfully we have a way that we can utilize it. So our yarn is done. We can do yarn start. And so this should run it on port 3001. So I have localhost 3001, and this should run the Gnosis Safe wrapper. You can also potentially run it on Gnosis Safe production directly, although it won't work with the Metis Go Early testnet because it's not supported there. So this is like, if you want the most control, this is the easiest way to do it. And then you don't have to worry about cores, cross-origin resource sharing, because that's like, if you don't know about that, don't like, you should, but like maybe like later on. But okay, there we go. Now we have our Gnosis Safe multi-sig interface. This would be the exact same thing that we would see over here if they actually deployed it. As you can see, I'm pretty salty. I was like, yesterday, I was like, why isn't it there? So then all we do is we just connect it. There we go. Let's see. Okay, 7 times the charm. We connect our wallet. Now, because we're on an unknown network that's not really supported by Gnosis Safe, it's like, hey, we need to deploy like the constructor proxy contracts, like to be able to actually utilize a lot of these tools. So that's what we do. It'll probably ask you to do the same. One thing, remember to, there's going to be 4 transactions. Remember to click it and wait for at least a confirmation. If you click it all 3 or all 4, you will get an error, and it'll be like, damn, and you have to restart it. It's something where it's like these transactions don't like, they rely one on top of the other, and so if you do it like too fast and then one executes before the other, then it's sort of like, or actually one can execute before the other. But anyways, if you click it too much, it'll break. Trust me on that. So you have to wait for transaction confirmation. And then we'll wait for one more. Okay, one more. And so once we have that, it should be like Coolio. Okay, there we go, check mark. So finally, now we can create the safe. And then we click confirm. And then now, after we create the safe, the magic happens. Boom. Okay, cool. Now we have this. We have our safe. We have our wrapping utility. Now, what we've all been waiting for is like, what is the actual application? Okay, so we do http://localhost 3000. Remember, that was our application that was like complaining, saying waiting for safe. So if you press enter, boom, it's all present here. You're able to see, here's the safe. And you click to send a test transaction, sending 0 ETH from this to this. You can confirm it. It accesses your whatever that your injected wallet application is. So in this case, it's the MetaMask. Or sorry, in this case, it's the Brave wallet, but it can be MetaMask. So it's submitted, and then we can see that we did in fact send a transaction as soon as it's like completed. We can actually take a look at the safe itself on, transaction confirmed. We can take a look at the safe itself on right here. We can see that, yes, there was in fact a transaction. It's some metadata, I don't know. But it was a transaction worth 0 paid 6 Gwei, just to send like a test transaction. But there can be much more use cases and utility, but essentially the important part is there is a wrapper for this, and you need to have localhost you need to have the Safe Apps developer UI running, and you need to have the application itself that you want to interface with it. So it's kind of that's the way that it's working to build these Gnosis Safe based tools. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing, but if it is, always happy to answer questions. But if another thing that should probably be step 3, reading the documentation, understanding like how this type of mechanism would work, understanding that there's certain types of there's certain types of operations that you can use within this. So if you actually take a look within this guy, if we go Codium, so if we take a look within, no, not node modules, never look in there. It's a scary place. Yeah, if we take a look within index app, so you see that in the application you have submit transaction. So you use Safe Apps SDK. By the way, if you're using React, you have to make sure to wrap it within a provider. So this is basically telling the application that it's like safe enabled. So then you go into the app, and then you're able to submit the transaction. You have like this just wrapper for the transaction. You take the Safe SDK, and then you can essentially execute specific things within the Safe SDK. So this can be like a multi-signature. This can be different types of use cases. But yeah, utilizing the Safe SDK is one of the important parts of this. So make sure that you read the documentation thoroughly, that you understand more so of how this works. So we go into here, the Safe Apps SDK. There's actually templates over here. But if you go into the documentation for this, you can take a look at majority of you would probably be using the template. So you can of course like consult this to make sure that you're using the correct version. If you're creating an entirely brand new application, here's what you'll use. If you're trying to port an existing application, you'd use a different type of library. But they all use very similar, like in this case, like you could take a look at the documentation for a lot of these operations: getting safe balances, sending transactions, signing messages, retrieving transaction status. So there's like a lot of these things that are present. Very maneuverable SDK, but it does take a little bit of setup. So if you need, you can walk through a lot of this. So then going back to this and back to the presentation, we have envisioning optimal tools, infrastructure for a decentralized company, identifying existing company and DAO issuer efficiency, using the Safe Apps SDK to build DAO tools solving the identified issue, and incorporating other Gnosis safe tools. So the idea here is it should play nicely with other applications. So if you're building something, you can have it so that it's you can build on top of existing applications. You can use the SDK to integrate another application, and then sort of have it be safe enabled. But it does need to add an additional use case, like how you see it being that this would enable better operation of an organization. So some ideas, there's definitely like a lot that organizations need, especially in Web3. So here's just some ideas: payroll management, on-chain resume, dispute resolution mechanisms, multi-permissioned entry tools. So you can have like, in order to enter a safe, you might need to have certain things. Of course, all of these operations, you don't have to use directly the safe SDK, but it's highly recommended that you do use it. But if it's an application that uses the safe contracts itself, like for example, joining the multisig, that would be like one of the use cases. So it has to use it directly. It doesn't have to. You don't have to, in a sense, like you don't have to code this functionality entirely within the Gnosis Safe SDK. This can be something external, but it does have to have some basis in the in using this multisig. So if that makes sense, I can clarify it hopefully later on at the end. And but yeah, and additional use cases, vulnerability prevention mechanisms. So you see like a big issue is that how can I, after detecting a smart contract vulnerability, how can I resolve it? Is there any channels that I can go to? So there might be a way that you can have it, like maybe a private channel in there. Emergency treasury withdrawal, I think that's already implemented. A lot of the, I think there's a tool that like demonstrates that you can do like emergency treasury, but maybe there's an easier way where you can do it, maybe like more integrated. There's also human resources tools, role and contributor management, onboarding mechanisms, document management, recruitment tools. So different types of tools that any sort of idea, you can utilize the Gnosis Safe SDK. But again, it has to have that basis for a multisig. So live and usable product on Gnosis Safe compatible testnet. This is actually, all testnets are applicable since you're using that this tool right here. Again, since you're using this safe tool over here, I don't know why I did the multi-send. Yeah. So since you're using this Gnosis Safe multisig, this will be available on any network. So not just Metis, but of course, like Metis is where you'll get the test tokens that you'll need to like deploy different things. So that can be the the easiest way to do it. Legal age and majority, open source code, and then join the DAC Discord and introduce yourself as well. So we're almost done. We got the judging criteria, vision and use case, improves functionality or efficiency of a DAO, review of the open source code, and the usability of the DAO. So a lot of it is similar to the Metis one, is like we leave it up to you to deploy a lot of this functionality. We want to see like what creative, innovative ideas. But again, it's important to have it a basis in reality. So if you can say that like, hey, here's our idea, here's how it's going to be used for, here's like the use case within a DAO, that would be like excellent. And finally, joining the Discord. Hopefully we can get more than 5 members, but a lot of it is there. So I'll send all of those links in there. And so if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, that should be everything. I guess any questions or comments? I know there's like a lot to unpack, like 2 projects. But yeah.
To recap here, thanks again, Pavel, for joining us today and kind of showcasing Metis in detail and kind of going in depth to the bounties. And I know what was really informative was kind of the possible ideas to build on top of that will help kind of spark kind of the process here of ideation. All of this will be recorded as well as posted in an article with the slide deck. So if you miss some of the resources, some of the QR codes, you'll be able to go back as well as there in our hacker pack. Thanks to everyone joining today. We will have another cool workshop tomorrow as well. In continuation of this layer hack, let me post the link here in the chat. So don't hesitate, please kind of register for that one as well. And then as Chelsea said, please, reach out to them on the Discord channels if you have any questions with Metis and kind of going about the development project or process, on our Discord as well as their Discord. They will be very happy to answer. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again to the Metis team for joining us today. See you all later. Bye-bye.